noticed me. Merry Christmas, everybody. Or New Year, or Kwanzaa, or whatever day it is. I'm late to the recording, so... Either way, I have something to give you all, and it is a new list about me. Yeah, I know, right? Me, as in what I like, what I want, what I love, my needs. I have those too. Please give me my ad revenue and stop ignoring my phone calls. What a year! Honestly, this was one of the best years I've ever had for gaming. So many games in so little time. I honestly don't know if this year was better than the last because, well, good luck following up Oras and Smash 4, but it certainly does stack up. I managed to truly expand my interests, tried out different games and different franchises and even genres, and lo and behold, look where we are now. Of course, as the title implies, I'm not just going over games that have been released this year, more so just games that I have happened to play for the first time over the whole year. With this in mind, there are literally a metric fuck ton of games that can be chosen for this list, so the bar is risen super high. And that's all I really have to say, so let's get going. Let's start off nice and easy with one of the most kill-tacular fucking games imaginable. I have an extreme love-hate relationship with Battletoads. On one hand, all the mechanics and the combat engine function properly, and you can make a case for the first couple of levels that ease you well enough for the experience about to be unfolded. On the other hand... No! Knife my eyes, please! Every bit of infamy this game holds can be traced back to the level design, each of which requires sharp wit, quick reflexes, intense memory, or all of the above. By now, I'm sure you heard of the infamous turbo tunnels that push your reflexes beyond their limits and can kill you in a second. Yeah, that still holds up, but this level is child's play compared to the rest of the game, which holds such wondrous levels as an ice level, a flying level that may as well be a turbo tunnels 2, the D-pad destroying rat race, and Clinger Winger. Just Clinger Winger, I can't give enough details, just have fun with the arthritis. Sure, there are warps in other sections where you can cheese the game, but that is still nothing in the hands of the rest of Battletoads. There's still a shred of fun, worth, and satisfaction that can be had with this game, which is why it even gets a spot on this list. Though you may as well try this game with the Infinite Lives cheat, because good luck getting beyond turbo tunnels without it. Those that still think that cheating in video games is a sin, I challenge you to stand by that shit if you touch Battletoads. You might be just as appalled as, well, anyone else. There are moments where you can just have a concept described to you, and chances are all premature judgments will formulate themselves. Trust me, this will become a theme throughout this list, but considering that there is a game where you control ducks to try and kill other duck players, in arenas that probably took inspiration from Smash Brothers, and being published by Adult Swim, well, that's it! We surely hit the pinnacle of game design. The industry is dead! Bow before your new overlords! Duck game works so well thanks to its rapid action and lightning fast rounds. Each duck spawns on or near weapons. The physics engine makes it so that gunshots have as much knockback as the force, and while mostly every weapon is a one-hit kill, that's the only similarity you can find with these weapons, and they're laid out at random so no two layouts will be the same. Oh yeah, this game also has hats too, and if you know the Steam community, hats are very important. Duck game is one of those games that doesn't need like 20 extra modes, collectibles, or even an intense story for you to get a lot of mileage out of it. Just put a lot of work in the bigger picture, and that's why it's so good. I just wish it was a little cheaper, but the game's charm and added contribution to the Steam Workshop does justify the price a bit, so I can't really complain. Don't mind me, I'm just a normal person making a normal video for a normal website. And part of this normal list, I normally talk about a normal game with a normal human being with a normal family whilst living in a normal life. Wow, normal doesn't even sound like a word anymore now, does it? Nobody suspects a thing, eh? Well, I mean, they're not wrong, but... Octodad Dadliest Catch is a special kind of game. I mean, you play as your average everyday octopus in a suit while doing the most mundane tasks, such as taking your family to the grocery store, doing housework, going to the aquarium. What in the fresh fuck can go wrong? Well, being an octopus, your tentacles go fucking everywhere, and the scenarios you can get yourself into are, something else. Honestly, trying to explain what you get yourself into is the bigger challenge than actually controlling the cephalopod, so I'll just segue there. The game's designed in such a way that even walking is a sight to behold, as you literally put one foot in front of the other, but the janky controls aren't meant to be a negative. If anything, it's my favorite part of the game because you'll end up flopping all over the place and every second of it is just beautiful. Add how blissfully unaware almost everyone in the game is to your species, and you'll get one of the funniest games I've ever played. Just play on the lowest difficulty if you want to make the most out of your floppiness and not play like an actual game, because who would ever want that anyway? When Kirby's Return to Dreamland came out, I wondered how you could top such a game in the next few years. Well, to be honest, you really can't, since Return to Dreamland has pretty much cemented itself as the quintessential Kirby game, let's be honest here. Really, the question should be how to follow up such a game, and while it's not as packed as its predecessor, god damn does Triple Deluxe stack up. Triple Deluxe plays with your standard jump, inhale, and copy techniques along with your added custom moves and collectibles to add a little extra replay value. It's a system that's been used for years, but it's still effective to this day, so there's nothing worth complaining about. But how do you capitalize on the smallest mechanics on your debut to the latest handheld? Well, Triple Deluxe's answer is by integrating an extra plane or two in each level. And while it's not some big ball-crushing innovation, it's used very effectively here. Of course, what's a new Kirby game without new toys to play with? Circus is actually kinda shitty, but the rest of them are all handled with enough love to use them over and over again. And this isn't even mentioning the game's own mega ability to send everything to Kingdom Fuck Hypernova, which is a hell of an expansion to the most prominent technique in the entire series. Go big or go home. That actually kind of works in this regard. Backing up the rise of indie popularity, more and more aspiring game developers end up hitting the scene. This shit's practically mainstream at this point, so what would be an appropriate response? Having one of the big times in the gaming industry publish a level maker of one of their biggest franchises to show how people demonstrate their level design capabilities, of course. Of course, I say this in the loosest way possible because... yeah... a little more. It's almost done, don't worry. Excuse me for a moment. Death to all automatic levels aside, Super Mario Maker is the game where you make things and then you submit them online. I would love to end it here, but Mario Maker adds a little more creativity than what you find in your average Mario game up to this point. You can make enemies larger, you can stack enemies, whatever the fuck the sound effect system is, as well as a shitload of other differences that can be found on the Mario Wiki, but I'd rather not get into that. The real appeal to Mario Maker, at least in my shitlord opinion, is seeing what the kind of levels the community makes, considering how well it tests the creative potential of some people. Huge emphasis on some, but what are you gonna do? Although, despite all that you can do with Mario Maker, and this might sound weird to some people, it's that I feel the game's incomplete. Sure, there are a lot of themes and assets to play around with, but I feel there could be a bit more stuff implemented to better justify the standard retail price. Maybe an extra game theme or two, more level themes, a couple power-ups, just a lot more assets in general. We can wait and see. More games nowadays seem to be built around rewarding you for being the most cruel piece of shit ever. Don't get me wrong, the possibility of twisting morals are apparent, but I think they can work for the sake of letting out built-up frustration for humanity in a fictional atmosphere. I mean, it's not like people are actually stupid enough to go out and pull off extreme murder in real life, right? Hotline Miami was onto something, wasn't it? Like other heist games, Hotline Miami blends action and stealth in order to complete a specific objective, but that's the most of the simulators you'll find. The big picture here is that the game is in a top-down perspective, which may hinder the combat portion in hindsight, but it actually helps when you're sneaking around because this isn't the kind of game where you can always go in guns blazing. Considering that everything in this game can kill you in one hit, you have to spend most of your time hiding behind doors and let the camera work for you. But when you get those kills, it's oh so satisfying, especially when you can take into account that the game is really freaking hard. Not in the sense of Battletoads, oh god no, the game actually gives you mercy with infinite lives, but with how easily you die and how you aggro all the enemies, you'll be burning lives, but strangely not the fun. Combine that, masks that give you specific benefits, scaling point values depending on how much variety you put in your kills, as well as a story that goes more and more into the surreal side, and you have a game that you'll likely spend hours on end. So, do you guys remember the extreme mediocrity that was the year of Luigi? I mean, I don't hope to sound too negative, but it really doesn't say much for your dedicated year when we only got 6 games, 3 of which are expansions to already existing games, and 1 of which is basically a skin for another game. And, yeah, right, I'll put Dark Moon on a favorite year-end list. So, Mario & Luigi Dream Team, still the same and fun Mario & Luigi game we've been playing for years. You take control of the 2 brothers in an RPG setting, defeat the bad guys, celebrate, it's all bliss. Of course, being a year of Luigi game, the gameplay focuses on who else? Being able to sleep on some fancy pillows to access the dream world where you can mess around with Luigi's face for overworld effects or give Mario a considerable boost in battle capabilities, essentially making the 2 characters into one. The game also accommodates for the 3DS's hardware to put more emphasis on 3D environments, even making the sprites look 3-dimensional. But by and far my favorite part about this game are all the insane scenarios that the bros get caught up in. I won't give too many spoilers, I just want to raise awareness of the fact that at one point a giant Luigi fights a walking volcano. Just take that in. Here's hoping Paper Jam will live up to the success. Here's hoping. Step aside, Call of Duty, Destiny, Halo, and Battlefront. Splatoon is the greatest shooter of all time. I am really fun at parties. In an industry where companies like to pump out games almost every year with the same overall objective of ending your foes' careers, having a game like Splatoon come around gives me something in a shooter that I never even knew I wanted. Well, something different. Of course, I don't intend to jab at traditional shooters for too long, but the point is that Splatoon isn't about getting as many kills as possible. Your given weapons make killing effective, but that's not all that they can do. Each weapon disperses ink, and not only is it lethal, but the real purpose of each weapon is to cover the terrain, and the team with the most terrain covered wins the game. As a kid squid, you can switch between the kid and squid. The kid gets the perks of wielding one out of dozens of assigned weapon sets, such as guns, rollers, grenades, beacons, barriers, ink strikes, and much more, and clothes and accessories that give various buffs to your character. The squid lets you travel in your own ink while replenishing your supply, so switching between the 2 is integral in order to stay in the battlefield. There's also a single player campaign that you can do to better prepare yourself for the main reason we all go back to Splatoon, the online, which is both a load of fun and very demoralizing, depending on the team comp. Look, if I'm given a sword and awesome ninja skills, do you honestly believe I'd take the slow route? Raiden already went through a previous transformation to this badass cyborg ninja, so making a game based solely on this concept would generate mountains of money. Oh, Konami, you used to actually be good. Regardless, Metal Gear Rising gives you every opportunity it can to destroy almost anything and everything. Yeah, there's a story that delves into political and sometimes more moral standards, but looking at what's in between, yeah, I'll take what I can chew. You can slice up enemies into shitload of possible ways, and if given and taken the opportunity, you can steal their fuel cells to completely fill up your health and energy. Sounds broken in hindsight, but considering the enemies and their placements, it's way more of a blessing. You also have a handy dandy ninja run that lets you run faster and automatically avoid obstacles, as well as this game's almighty end-all kill-all blade mode, which flips the slow-mo switch as you go to town. Combine all of this with your Ripper mode and have fun. However, it isn't to say that the game has a lot of aggravating moments if you're playing it through for the first time, and I will not mention the damnation I wish to give on those stupid fucking gorillas, but the set pieces your eyes behold and your controller vibrate to more than make up for any of this. It's oh so magnificent. Oh, Sonic, you're still kicking? Yeah, no, I'd much rather have another blue furry fuck over this one. Yeah, like that. Well, the thought of an anthropomorphic something with a case of amnesia guided by a dork of a sidekick and a MacGuffin sword could be seen as making the mother of all cliche omelets. The story itself is actually a really good one, centered around Dust trying to find his true self while thrown into the spotlight of war. Almost every character is well written and interesting, and even make for some side quests to gain some extra materials and experience. Speaking of, the gameplay is satisfactory as fucking fuck. You can pull off long chains of combos with your sword, as well as the special power Dust Storm, which can create cycles of wind, though at the cost of burning out if used for too long. When defeating bosses, your sidekick Fidget will gain magic attacks that, when combined with your Dust Storm, will dispense screen clearing attacks. Oh, you think this looks broken? Wait until you get the aerial Dust Storm. So cheap, but oh so delicious! The game also houses RPG elements such as leveling up stats and various equipment. All of this isn't even mentioning its beautiful presentation with bright and colorful scenery, all the particle effects you can ever ask for, and a wonderful orchestral soundtrack. Dean Dodrell, you beautiful, beautiful motherfucker, don't let this game be your only gym. You know what's great for a game? Being stupid. You know what's better for a game? Being stupidly self-aware at its stupidity. And Jesus Christmas, John Cena, Obama, Captain Crunch, what is Saints Row 4? I can't talk about this game without going over how it all starts because, fuck me. You disarm a missile whilst attempting to exit orbit, land on the saved planet as the POTUS, and with your first order of business being to decide whether or not to kill cancer or put food on everyone's plate. Good luck with the moral anguish, by the way. Then, something alien invasion? Oh, crap! After getting your ass destroyed, you're placed in a simulation where... my word. Upon breaking free, you promptly destroy the Earth and are sent into a new simulation where more aliens try to kill you and you gain superpowers. And the rest is up to you, frankly, as you roam around the world, completing side quests and missions to upgrade your firearms, superpowers, and general stats, and other stuff in the sandbox variety. But Saints Row 4 wins this spot, as well as my favorite sandbox game, for the whole reverse psychology effect that the game presents, as you're forced to live in a recreation of Saints Row 3 controlled by an alien leader who handles the role of God, while you become God yourself for no consideration for realism. I would love to go into examples, but it really is one of those games that you have to experience on your own account. And considering I got the Game of the Century edition on Black Friday for $5, it was well worth the investment. Well, sucks that I missed out on the hype train last year, but with added goodies released around the time that I finally got to Shovel Knight, kinda made up for it. Everything in Shovel Knight just works. The shovel attacks are spot on, and the DuckTales shovel vault is stupidly fun to use. The levels have their own identities and don't share gimmicks, so none of them feel the same beyond a scenery change. The boss fights are action-packed and keep you on your toes. The upgrades you get are varied and go well with the level design. The music is just kick-ass. And you know what? Let's go further. Shovel Knight is such a massive hit that it's still being expanded upon to this day, with ports on pretty much to every relevant gaming platformer, run-ins with Kratos and even the Battletoads, its own amiibo that provides a co-op option, and even its own free DLC update that lets you play as Plague Knight with his own story and a complete overhaul to his gameplay, and with more DLC on the way. Seriously though, I cannot wait to play as Spectre Knight. I can't wait to see if Yacht Club has anything else beyond its hull, but at the same time, I would be perfectly okay with Shovel Knight being its continuing legacy. It's one of those games, and everyone needs to play it as soon as possible. Race car soccer, or is it race car football? You know what? Fuck sports. Rocket League is one of those games that, if looking at it at first, I thought would be boring as shit because it's sports. Who the fuck ever plays? Well, leave it to some shitlord giving to me out of sheer impulse to prove me otherwise. Of course, I wouldn't put Rocket League on this list, let alone at the top 3, if it played at all in the realms of realism. The entire game revolves around driving in a race car to put the ball in the opposing side's goal, but there's a little more to it than that. The main meat of Rocket League lies in your jumping ability. You can jump once, and you have the option to either follow that up with a second jump or flipping your car in a certain direction. There's also various boost pads on the floor to increase your boost meter, and if you utilize both mechanics to their maximum potential, then Godspeed, you majestic bastard. And this is all you really need to know about Rocket League because the game's controls and physics work together so well. There's never a game where you're not rocketing around, rolling in the air, demolishing a car or two to get that sweet, sweet taste of victory. Every game completed, win or lose, earns you something new, whether it's a car model, wheels, boost trails, but none of them affect any stats. It's all for pure aesthetic and maybe even hitbox variety. While its predecessor, Super Atomic Rocket Power Battle Cars, has a lot more content to offer, I still consider Rocket League to be the better game because it shows how a game doesn't need to have a huge package. It has to be so much fucking fun, and it is. Indie developers, man, they do not deserve to be stopped. So, I'm in a bit of a dilemma. Every game on my list are present, for the most part, in favor of various gameplay aspects and, jokingly mind you, shove the story back, and yet here we are, near the top of this list with a visual novel. Games that thrive for story, and by a visual novel, I mean 2 visual novels. because good luck getting me to decide between Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc and Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. Technically speaking, there's not a lot of differences to be found between either game. Both games involve high school students trapped in either a high school or island, depending on which game, and a chromatically confused teddy bear comes in and gives sheer fuckery to everyone, forcing them to kill one another in order for a set number of them to leave alive. Once someone dies, anyone currently alive investigates the crime scene and are set to a trial to find the actual culprit. The investigations involve exploring every single possible detail and clue to the murder, and the trials consist of small minigames such as debunking arguments and putting two pieces together. Neither game even has to have these little gameplay portions, and I still love what they were going for, because both games make sure there are multiple twists and turns and all the characters' differing personalities blend together and interact very well with each other. There isn't a single character I hate in either game, at least unironically, and they are all handled amazingly. I hate to put such a gushy persona whilst being vague, but allow me to repeat this once more, these are experiences needed to be handled by your own merit. Just keep trusting me on this one, please. Shit. Well, if it wasn't gonna be Danganronpa, then I guess the gold goes to Undertale. Sit tight, kids, because for the next minute or 2 or 3, I will be acknowledging standards that are destined to be met. Here's the funny thing about Undertale. It's classified as an RPG, and while in the bigger picture it's true to that regard, but if we're talking combat, then it's a whole other story, depending on how you handle your cards. The choice is on you to either complete the game without harming a single solitary thing, actually murdering everything you come across, or whatever's in that fuzzy gray line that divides these two paths. The complete irony in all of this is that killing everything you see like you would in a normal RPG would give you the worst possible outcomes, to the point where even playing through it feels like an absolute chore. The main appeal to Undertale is its morality system, which the game even makes sure that you know your choices heavily depend on what happens next. And depending on where you go, you can either be met with some of the most hilarious occurrences I've ever seen in a long time, or some of the most feelsy moments I've ever come across. This isn't to say that the gameplay itself doesn't deserve to be shrugged off, it's just as important. It's still your fare of attacking and using items, but the enemy attacks are sequenced in bullet hell minigames, but none of them even dwell to a point where it's unfair. You just need to get good. There's also the option to spare your enemies, which cycles the whole pacifism thing. And that's as far as I'm going for the sake of not giving spoilers, because nobody likes this, let's be real here. Undertale is one of those games that you really should play through at least once. Undertale rose up on my favorite games list like a freaking rocket. And if you don't like it all that much, then that's totally fine, it's just not your thing. I didn't even expect it to hit home with me, and it did. Woo! It sure did. Okay, so I guess I'm not all that dead? Who'd have thought? Well, if you stayed this long, then thank you so much. I've been trying to follow up that E3 list for a while now, and I didn't really work out all that well, so hopefully I made up for that. I do have some plans for 2016, including more lists, a let's play, and maybe even a series? Oh man, whatever could that mean? Well, stay tuned for that. Probably, assuming I actually do it. I'm holding my breath on this one, I swear. I also have ideas floating around for reviews, other let's plays, and whatever pops up in my head. However, I'm not doing this entirely for me. If there's anything you want to see, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do with that. Hopefully you all have a very happy holidays. I know I did. Later, guys.